Listen up, wrestling fans.
A bunch of grown men playing dress up.
How you doing this evening, gentlemen?
You ungrateful garbage!
Me, Yuji Nakagata, and I gotta apologize. I'm a little late this morning. My mother did not. My botch.
Listen up, wrestling fans.
Listen up, this is Strong Honor. My name's Tommy Stryker, the host of the show. This is where we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor. Now, this week, doing it a little bit different. I'm just flying solo. Taco's not here. Joe's not here. But there's really not a ton to talk about this week, and I'm sure I'll end up doing a long-ass podcast anyway. But thanks for checking out the show. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And actually, this podcast right here, it's available on iTunes through the Best Pro Wrestling Podcast right now. But we are in the process of getting a new logo made and getting the thing up on iTunes. It's a whole thing, and it starts with getting the logo done and just getting everything submitted to the different websites and the different just meeting all the specific criteria that you need to have to get on iTunes. But the exclusive Strong Honor feed is available. You can find links to that on bestprowrestlingpodcast.com, and actually stronghonor.com now points you directly to that same website. And I think I'm probably just going to end up keeping those websites in the same place. There's really not a reason to have two different websites at this point. Maybe someday down the road, if Strong Honor becomes bigger and has a need for its own website, sure, we'll look into that at that time. But for right now, one website for two podcasts, and it seems to be working just fine. So make sure you subscribe to that new RSS feed, because eventually we will be moving it all to its own feed. But for now, you can find it on the Best Pro Wrestling feed and the Strong Honor feed if you care. So like I said, flying solo this week all by myself. All I really want to talk about is the Ring of Honor TV show from this week, and maybe do a little bit of a preview of, we got the Global Wars Tour coming up starting next week. But I will be doing a podcast next week as well, so it kind of doesn't make a ton of sense to do a big preview of it. But the big news kind of for me next week is that I will be going to Global Wars in Chicago. I'm living currently in the Minneapolis area, making the drive down. I'm making a whole weekend out of it. The Pro Wrestling Tees is opening their brick and mortar store. The grand opening is that weekend, so I'm going to check that out. AA Wrestling, AAW, is having a 2-day tournament Friday and Saturday, so I'm going to be going to that too. So we might talk about that, kind of preview that stuff just a little bit. And then, of course, coming up this Monday, we've got King of Pro Wrestling from New Japan, so we definitely want to preview that. So we'll kind of feel things out, kind of see where we're at time-wise, because I could save the Global Wars preview for next week, and so on and so forth, just because we're going to have some stuff to talk about next week. But I do kind of want to tentatively say, and I don't know if I'm bringing my full laptop. I'm certainly not bringing my whole podcast setup with me, but I do have a phone with some nice audio stuff on it, so I could potentially do some audio while I'm in Chicago. I don't know what that will entail, if it's just me talking about the shows I'm going to, or maybe talking to some other fans, possibly talking to some wrestlers. Who knows? I'm not much of an interviewer, if you've heard any of my other podcasts before. But you never know. We'll see what happens when I get down to Chicago. So, like I said, I'm just sitting back, just me this week. So I might be taking a swig of something here and there, little pauses as we go along here. But no worries. I can certainly edit things out if things get awkward at some point, but who cares, really? It's just, I'm just talking to you. Instead of me talking to Taco or talking to Joe or talking to anybody, I'm just talking to you. So we'll keep it casual this week. So let's get into Ring of Honor TV from this week. You know, it's the ongoing problem of Ring of Honor not being in sync with the pay-per-view that happened several weeks back at this point. But again, I don't want to make excuses for Ring of Honor, but again, they're doing the best that they can with what they can do at this point while still being a company that makes money. I don't want to criticize them too much because it's like, you look at what TNA tried to do, too much, too quickly, trying to go live every week, trying to take it on the road. Now, Ring of Honor has already done way more than that. They're on the road all the time. They are making money, and so it's really just their TV situation. And they've really improved things over the past, 5 years or so, it seems like, improving the production values of not only the TV itself, the high definition, but, the stages and the LED screens and all of that. So they are gradually moving things into a better place, and I'm really hoping that they can get a better TV situation very soon, because this clunkiness of the pay-per-views happening, but then still 2 or 3 weeks of pre-taped stuff that was taped before the pay-per-view. So it's like, for instance, this week it was Cody versus Frankie Kazarian in the main event for the Ring of Honor title, but this was taped before Cody defended the Ring of Honor Championship on the last pay-per-view versus Minoru Suzuki. So that's a continuity issue there, although they do a good job with people in the building not outright saying, well, this is going to air after the pay-per-view. Cody was indeed champion before the pay-per-view as well, so they could kind of do that knowing that Cody would be champion after the pay-per-view. It is just clunky, though. It's still, you want your TV show to feel relevant, and you want to talk in a timely fashion on your TV show about hot topics that happened on the pay-per-view. So it's an issue that they need to work on, and hopefully they'll have hopefully they can get an almost live situation, or be able to tape in a way like they tape the day after pay-per-views generally, but I don't know why it takes them 3 weeks to get those shows edited together and ready to go. I could understand it being like a week, but why does it take 3-4 weeks? Like I said, I don't have those answers, and I'm sure they have a good excuse, maybe, but who knows? Anyway, so like I said, this week on Ring of Honor TV, Frankie Kazarian versus Cody Rhodes. It's kind of what you would expect. Cody keeps the title, of course, with the Crossroads, this being taped before the pay-per-view. That would be, that's the thing too, is that if like most of us do, it's mostly adults watching this stuff, right? So we all know, or I guess we don't all know. I shouldn't say everybody watching Ring of Honor TV knows that this was taped before the pay-per-view. That just would be outright wrong. But I think most people with Twitter are smart enough to realize, especially when even the ring announcer, or the play-by-play announcer, Ian Riccaboni, is talking on Twitter about how, I remember being hoarse when we taped this, weeks ago, after, the week after or the day after the Honor Rumble or whatever, being hoarse from that, which aired on last week's episode of Ring of Honor TV. So, just again, the continuity stuff. As I'm watching that, there's no chance that Kazarian wins because this was taped before the pay-per-view. So it's just an issue. And like I said, it didn't stand out as this wasn't the Cody Rhodes performance that we've all been waiting for. It was just the continuation of the story of Kazarian and Daniels having it in for Cody and the fans, kind of going against the fans. I want to talk about this Cody situation here that's very strange as I take another swig here. Give me a second. But yeah, the Cody heel or babyface situation. Now, I get it. Ring of Honor did the smart thing, right? They've gone with they went with the idea of Cody's the champion, the fans are behind Cody. Let's run with that, and let's run with the addiction going back to the heel side, because the fans, quite frankly, turned against Kazarian and Daniels in their feud against the Bullet Club and against Cody Rhodes. So I get that. The addiction turning makes sense, and Cody turning makes sense, except he hasn't really turned, right? He's still doing all the heel shit. And if you listen to my other podcast, I've been talking about this a lot lately. I am a mark for good heels. Cody is a good heel because I don't. He makes me not like him. He makes me see him want to lose. He makes me want to see him not win. That, and part of that is just his style of wrestling. His in-ring stuff just doesn't really do much for me. The Crossroads is not. I don't like the Crossroads. It's not my favorite move. I think it's a weak finisher. Just my opinion. So, but why is Cody continuing to act like a heel when he's so much of a babyface with the crowd and everything else? And yeah, I get it. I understand. I'm a big fan of shades of gray, and you don't have to necessarily have heels and baby faces. I get all that. I enjoy, like I said, shades of gray. I enjoy subtlety in my heels and baby faces, but Cody really comes across as a smash you over the head heel. And I don't know. It's the same reason why it's just me. I don't get it, right? Some fans just like to cheer for heels. Some fans they have this respect for Cody because he left WWE and took it and brought his talents to the indies. So there's a respect there, and he put that list out there over a year ago now of all the things that he wanted to accomplish on the independent scene, and I enjoyed that. I respect Cody for all of that, but just I'm talking purely the presentation of him as a character. And let's talk about the idea of Cody when he was in WWE, right? He was just a mid-card guy, a tag team guy. You could even say a lower card guy. Yeah, he held the IC title now and then, maybe even the run with the US title, tag team runs, etc. But he was never a top guy. The Ring of Honor brings him in, and he's a top guy in Ring of Honor. So what's that tell casual fans? Well, that tells your casual fans that a guy who is just a guy in WWE is the Ring of Honor champion, which means everybody else in Ring of Honor is below Cody Rhodes, at least psychologically to your casual fans, I guess. And quite frankly, to me. So that's kind of where I'm sitting on this thing. If you have a different opinion, hit me up on Twitter, at Tommy Stryker, spell Stryker with a Y, or at this podcast's Twitter page, at Strong Honor. Let's start a discussion about tell me why you're into Cody. Tell me why you like Cody. Is it just the Bullet Club thing? Is it the respect for him leaving WWE? Let me know, and let's talk about it. Other stuff from Ring of Honor TV. We had a triple threat tag match featuring War Machine. We haven't seen much of that lately, have we? Right, with the 3 triple threat tag team matches in New Japan. I'm guessing Ring of Honor didn't know that War Machine was going to be in 3. Well, technically, it's going to be 4 now. Triple threat matches for the tag titles in New Japan coming up when this was taped. But nevertheless, War Machine versus Coast to Coast versus the Tempura Boys. A fun, exciting Ring of Honor tag team match. Ring of Honor style, indie style tag team match. It ended up, of course, being War Machine. Again, continuity issues here. War Machine, again, this is being taped how many ever weeks ago. War Machine coming out with the IWGP heavyweight tag titles when they just lost them at the last Destruction event to the Killer Elite Squad. Again, I understand. I know that they have to do this because of money, but if they could get at least closer to an almost live situation, it would be quite a bit better. Nevertheless, like I said, decent match, fun match. War Machine get the win. The other 2 teams in the match, Coast to Coast, who is Shaheem Ali and LSG, who I'm getting to like more and more. They haven't been booked to win anything yet, but they've been having some good tag team matches during their Ring of Honor run here. And the Tempura Boys were the other team in the match. Now, I speculated last week here on Strong Honor that it's going to be the Tempura Boys as part of Rocky Romero's Roppongi 3K team going for the IWGP Junior heavyweight titles. I don't know that for a fact, just some speculation on my part. We had a match with Corey Hollis, taking on Flip Gordon. This was a showcase for Flip Gordon, newer signed Ring of Honor talent. They're trying to get him over. He's got a lot of cool moves. So living up to the Flip in the Flip Gordon name. Before the match, they showed a kind of awkward Flip Gordon highlight video, which on its own, yes, it was awkward and kind of weird, and the song was just it was his new theme song or whatever. When they went to the match, it turns out that's just his theme song and his I guess Titantron, his entrance video and theme. Now in that context, I thought it worked, but just showing it as a Flip Gordon highlight video, I thought was a bit awkward, but nevertheless, this match got him over. Was a lot of fun. They did a silly handstand spot early in the match where Flip Gordon is just doing a handstand and kind of shaking his legs back and forth, and Corey Hollis just kind of stands there and watches it. Thought that was dumb. Why not? Why doesn't Corey Hollis just kick the shit out of him and take over right there? So a little bit of just doing too much, getting all of your shit in, as it were. Flip Gordon gets the win with the 4 nifty, kind of like a 450 springboard, but instead of springboarding to his feet, he does it on his knees, and then I don't know if he's supposed to hit a splash, but in this case he actually hit 2 knees onto Corey Hollis. It was a cool move, but yeah. Good outside apron work during the match. Flip has some nice hope spots with the spring blade, a springboard sling blade, and the Samoan pop, kind of a Samoan drop where he does a backflip and pops back up to his feet. So I liked both of those moves. I liked that Riccaboni was on top of it, having names for the moves. So good on you, Mr. Riccaboni. Then we had a nice Women of Honor highlight segment. I'll admit, I'm not a good Ring of Honor fan. I'm not a good Ring of Honor podcaster. I am not up to speed on my Women of Honor Wednesdays, checking it out on YouTube. I got to be honest here. And God bless Ring of Honor for putting this effort in, and I hope they keep doing it. But the women's division in Ring of Honor just has not piqued my curiosity yet. That level, I mean, Ring of Honor obviously sets the bar very high for all wrestling, and the women's wrestling just hasn't felt up to par with me, or yeah, with just it just hasn't. I haven't been able to get into it yet. So I should. I will. I'm not going to make any promises here, but I will make an effort to check out more Women of Honor on the Women of Honor Wednesdays on YouTube. But they did do a very nice feature here, kind of featuring getting everybody up to speed on kind of the top feuds going on in Women of Honor. Kelly Klein is the dominant force in Women of Honor. Deonna Purrazzo kind of being her formidable opponent. And then they talk about Karen Q getting involved, getting a count-out win over Klein, who had not been defeated by pinfall or submission at all before that, but it was because of the Purrazzo distraction. Then Karen Q steals a victory in a 3-way with those 3 women, causing some friction between Purrazzo and Karen Q. So that was kind of the story of your top 3 Women of Honor, women that they highlighted this week on TV. So again, like I said, I'm not completely into the work yet of the women. You know, I think a lot of what you see on from the women's division on NXT tends to be a little bit better than what I've seen from Women of Honor so far. But I'm keeping an open mind. I'm excited for what they're doing, and I'm really hoping for the best for all of these the women workers out there. So that was pretty much Ring of Honor this week. I think I'm going to save the Ring of Honor Global Wars preview for next week, but a little more timely going into the weekend of the 12th through the 15th. I will say this: I'm very much looking forward to the show in Chicago. And really what drew me to the show was not Cody Rhodes, but the fact that they were bringing in a lot of New Japan talent, and the fact that they kind of Ring of Honor spilled the beans a little early on for New Japan, for New Japan's taste on the Kenny Omega U.S. title defense. They kind of, when they first announced the show, they said Kenny Omega would be defending the IWGP U.S. title. New Japan got mad. They made ROH pull back on that statement until after the Destruction title defense against Juice Robinson. I think everybody was hoping that we were going to get Juice Robinson versus Kenny Omega at the show, but it's going to be Kenny Omega versus Yoshihashi, which, again, I'm not as excited for, and I'm blaming Ring of Honor for this, but that doesn't change the fact it was Kenny Omega that made me want to buy a ticket and go to Chicago and just have a fun weekend of wrestling. Which is, again, is very rare for me. If you don't know, I was doing some indie wrestling myself. Very low-level stuff here, people. I'm nothing to look up, nothing to write home about at all, or was at all. But until about a little over 3 years ago, I got this new job where I work nights and weekends. If you're trying to do any kind of indie wrestling, it's hard to do that when you have a job that you have to work nights and weekends for. So I gave that up and started podcasting. So for me to do this, I took my remaining week of vacation. I had to use it for something, and we didn't have any big plans this fall. And so I decided, well, I'll just make a trip to Chicago. So I'm making a weekend out of it, which is, again, it's hard for me to even get off to go to a local indie show here in my local area. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal for me to not only take the vacation time, but to go to a show. But like I said, I'm making a weekend out of it. I'm going to the AAW 2-day tournament that they're having, which looks really awesome. A lot of fun indie names on that show. I'll preview that next week as well. But like I said, the draw for me going to Ring of Honor in Chicago was Kenny Omega, Bullet Club guys like the Young Bucks, and then, of course, the New Japan talent. Seeing Kushida in person. When I heard that Minoru Suzuki was coming, I am so geeked to sit in that crowd and chant Kaze ni Nare with that goddamn song. I'm not much of a like when I go to wrestling shows, I don't tend to be the chanter, the yeller, the participator. I usually just kind of sit there and watch it. But I am geeked I'm a complete mark for these New Japan guys. But a lot of the Ring of Honor guys too. I've gone to Ring of Honor shows here in my own town, and so I've seen those guys before. But again, I'm definitely excited to see some of those. But it was the New Japan guys, specifically Kenny Omega, and the amazing year that he's had, those matches with Okada, of course. That's the draw here. So I just don't want anybody to get it twisted thinking that it's, Cody Rhodes that's drawing these amazing houses for these Global Wars tours. That's kind of the heel narrative coming out of Cody Rhodes right now. But I think most people realize that. But I just wanted to put it out there, just in case someone was wondering. Let's get into some New Japan talk right now, shall we?
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
So again, before we get to King of Pro Wrestling, that's the big show coming up this Monday with some title matches on there. Kind of go through that, give my feelings on these matches, and talk about my excitement level. Maybe a prediction or two we'll see as we go through it. But I am also very excited for the Young Lion Cup that's starting up also next week on the 12th, I believe. Yes. The Lionsgate Project 7 is going to feature the first new Lions Cup in over 12 years. This is a tournament for the young lions, round-robin style, so very much like the G1 Climax or the Best of the Super Juniors. So this is just there's only 6 guys in it, so each guy will obviously wrestle 5 times. Each match, 15-minute time limit. Points are awarded 3 points for a draw, 1 point, or 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. Obviously, nothing for a loss or a DQ. DQ would result in 0 points for both wrestlers, which is interesting because DQ would usually cause another person to win in like a WWE style booking. So, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of DQs from the Young Lions. But that starts on the 12th. Looking forward to that. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week as well. Well, quickly, just in case I don't get to do the podcast before that show, the first show on the 12th airs. To me, these are the guys that are in the tournament. Hirai Kawato, the very young lion, 20 years old, I believe. But to me, he stands out as he is going to be a huge star. Obviously, a junior heavyweight, probably will be for most of his 20s. But very exciting, has a good connection with the crowd already. Exciting moves, good fiery comebacks and whatnot. Really, in my opinion, the first standout star of this crop of young lions. Then Tomoyuki Oka in the tournament, another standout of these young lions for me. Probably the second most experienced out of this group of young lions. I think Oka, Kawato, and Kitamura kind of all starting. But Oka and Kawato both January 3rd. Or no, Kawato was 2016 January 3rd. Oka was January 3rd of this year. So Kawato, this list, I'm reading this off of NJPW 1972. So they've got the most experienced at the top of the list with the least experienced at the bottom of the list. So Kawato with the most, then Oka. I compare Oka to like a young Tomohiro Ishii a little bit. I like what he's doing so far. Katsuya Kitamura, he's the big jacked up Brock Lesnar of the New Japan Young Lions, and I really think that this is kind of this might be his tournament to win, just because like Kawato's the most experienced, yes, when it comes to the young lions, but Katsuya Kitamura, he's probably, I think he's the oldest. Yes, he is the oldest of this group of young lions. So I think if New Japan wants to do something with him, which they should, he's got a great look. He's going to be a star for them in one form or fashion. So heat him up, have him win this tournament, and have him get a little bit of momentum out of that, because him being like Kawato's the most experienced, but he's also very, very young. You've got plenty of time to do other stuff with that guy. You could make an argument for Oka also winning the thing. He's a bit older too, I think 26 or so, I believe, but you still got some time with him. Not that Kitamura is old by any means. He's just coming into his prime probably, but him being young in his pro wrestling training, I think it might be just so you can get the most out of his pro wrestling career, might be a good thing to have him win this tournament. What the winner of this tournament gets other than a trophy, I have no idea, but it might be fun. It'll be fun to see either way. I think it just gets you that a new level of prestige, possibly, and just kind of crowns you rather as a king of the young lions. Other guys: Shota Umino, the son of Red Shoes, the referee; Tetsuhiro Yagi, and Ren Narita. He just debuted this year on July 4th. So those are your Young Lions and the Young Lions Cup. Let's talk King of Pro Wrestling now. Again, this show coming up Monday, technically Sunday night here in the States, but with Sunday night being a school night, I don't imagine too many Americans staying up to watch the King of Pro Wrestling in the middle of the night here in the States. So I'm guessing a lot of pro wrestling fans come Monday night after work might have a decision to make when it comes to, King of Pro Wrestling or Monday Night Raw. Rest assured, I'm going to be watching King of Pro Wrestling come that Monday night. Well, as a matter of fact, I'll be making the drive back from... No, that's this coming Monday. I was thinking a weekend ahead, up to the 15th. No, that's the following weekend. I'll still be in town. That'll be my last day of work before my vacation, actually, on Monday. So I will be getting home from work on Monday watching King of Pro Wrestling. Rest assured for that. So here's the card for King of Pro Wrestling. In the opener, Leo Tonga teaming up with Yujiro Takahashi and Bad Luck Fale taking on those guys, Bullet Club guys, of course, taking on Los Ingobernables de Japón, Hiromu Takahashi, both the Takahashis here in the opening match, Bushi and Sanada. This is not a never openweight trios match. I believe, aren't those guys the never champ? No, it's Bushi, Sanada, and Evil, the six-man champions. Hiromu is not part of the six-man champions. So I'm not sure what they're working on building up to here. Maybe just the ongoing stuff between Bullet Club and LIJ. Second match, Toru Yano and Hirooki Goto teaming up against Zack Sabre Jr. and Minoru Suzuki. I guess this is going to be building up to a possible. Goto and Suzuki have already kind of had their never feuds here. So I'm not really sure. Did Yano beat Suzuki in the goddamn G1? Was that one of those matches? I gotta find my G1 notes. I'm looking at this right now. And yeah, fucking Yano beats Suzuki. So apparently we're going to get a Yano-Suzuki never match at some point. At least they're certainly teasing it here. Probably your power struggle, fucking power struggle. We're going to get Yano and Suzuki in a never match, quite possibly here. That'll be a lot of nonsense with the Suzuki gun stuff and Yano and the chairs and the turnbuckle pads and the literal chaos being the chaos member that Yano is. The third match, this is your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title match between the current champions, the Funky Future, Ricochet and Taguchi, taking on Roppongi 3K. Again, my guess, the Tempura Boys, but we shall see. I am curious to see if this new team, this debuting Roppongi 3K, gets the titles right away, or if Ricochet and Taguchi end up keeping the titles here, being that I believe they just won them not too long ago. So I would actually like to see a nice run. Ricochet's so great in the ring, and him and Taguchi are a bit of an odd couple team, but definitely fun. Ricochet is awesome, and Taguchi is just, with his comedy, it's a lot of fun and goofiness, but I feel like he knows when to turn on the magic, turn on the seriousness in the matches, so you can have kind of this goofiness, the comedy stuff early in the match, but then things really break down and get into the brass tacks of things and get serious late in the matches. So I like Taguchi and what he brings in the Taguchi Japan stuff. So then it's the fourth time we're going to see Hansen and War Machine taking on the Killer Elite Squad and the Guerrillas of Destiny. This time, Killer Elite Squad are the champions, and this time it will be an elimination match. Now, New Japan's come under a lot of criticism for not being very creative, booking these three-way matches 4 times in a row. I get it, but you know what? These last, at least the last 2 matches, very entertained. I was very entertained by them. It was, I don't want to say obvious, but the Killer Elite Squad, a lot of people predicted them getting the titles. I think a lot of people thought that was the plan earlier this year before Lance Archer had the injury that they were going to get the tag titles. But while they were gone, War Machine really got over. And so when they won those first two three-ways and at the Destruction shows, I thought there was a big chance that they would end up keeping the titles here. And there's a chance that they could get them back. I like the stipulation that they added here with an elimination style. It changes up the dynamic just enough to keep it interesting for me. It's repetitive. It's the same damn teams over and over again. I get the criticism there. But hey, you know what? It's not like I'm bored. I'm not fast-forwarding through these matches. So, I mean, there's that. So there's something to be said there, I think. Then the fifth match, Jado, Beretta, and Yoshihashi. Beretta, of course, the new heavyweight member of Chaos, former Roppongi Vice guy, taking on the team of Marty Scurll, Cody, and Kenny Omega, your Bullet Club heavyweights. And by heavyweights, I mean heavy hitters, your big-time over guys. It'll be interesting to see if any more friction develops between Cody and Kenny Omega in this match. That's kind of been an ongoing story here a little bit this year but I can't imagine. Well, obviously they're gonna. This is kind of a preview for the Kenny Omega Yoshihashi match coming up in Chicago the following weekend. So that's kind of what that is there. Then Togi Makabe teaming up with Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Juice Robinson and Kota Ibushi. Sounded like a lot of people wanted to see the Kota Ibushi-Hiroshi Tanahashi match for the IWGP Intercontinental title on this show. It's not happening on this show. This is another tag team preview for that. We're going to get Tanahashi versus Ibushi at the Power Struggle show coming up. That is November 5th, Power Struggle. So it's really not that far off. Less than a month at this point. or about actually a month from the day that I'm recording this. But nevertheless, it's right around the corner. We got a bunch of Road to Power Struggle shows that I'm sure is just going to be full of more of these tag matches, but still fun New Japan action to check out. And anytime you get Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi in a ring together, I'm looking forward to it. Togi Makabe's been heating up as of lately too. They've been giving him some wins and making him look good. And Juice Robinson just coming off of the very good match with Kenny Omega is intriguing in this spot too, teaming up with Kota Ibushi going against Tanahashi and Makabe. Then the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match, Kushida taking on Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay challenging Kushida after defending the title versus El Desperado back at the Middle Destruction show last month. A lot of people critical of Will Ospreay getting another shot against Kushida, who Kushida has always beaten. Kushida has Will Ospreay's number, so everybody's predicting that Will Ospreay will get the IWGP Junior title here, and I like that story. I think it's time for Will Ospreay to get the title. It's time for it's well overdue for the Will Ospreay push in New Japan. All that being said, I'm not mad at the Kushida story that they have told this year either. I liked the ticking time bomb, Hiromu coming in and just going crazy, having Kushida's number, winning the title at Wrestle Kingdom, fucking going over Kushida in like 2 minutes in the rematch earlier in the year, Kushida having the redemption story during the Best of the Super Juniors, winning, getting the title back, and then Hiromu's been on the downturn ever since and is kind of bottomed out right now. When Will Ospreay came out to challenge Kushida, Hiromu came out to get in on the action, and Will Ospreay knocked him out clean with one punch. So I think now is the time to tell the Hiromu comeback story, possibly. I like the Daryl thing. Hiromu kind of found a way to keep himself relevant, to keep people talking about him during the G1 climax when everybody was talking about the heavyweights. He introduces this stuffed cat Daryl that had the whole internet talking about Hiromu Takahashi during the heavyweight G1 climax tournament, and Hiromu being a junior heavyweight. So I thought that was a clever thing. I've heard people argue that it's not main event. Him throwing fits in the ring is not main event. And that's, I understand and I get all of that, but I think Hiromu is over enough that I think he could definitely come back from throwing the fit in the ring after not being able to get his rematch against Kushida. But I definitely understand those criticisms that I've heard from other fans and other podcasters. So we'll see what it is going forward. I could see this going to a three-way at Wrestle Kingdom, bringing Hiromu back into the picture, and Ospreay getting the win going into the Wrestle Kingdom as the champion. But then who do you go with from there? Back to Kushida, back to Hiromu, or do you keep it on Will Ospreay for a while? I wouldn't be mad at that either. Will Ospreay deserves a big push, and believe me, I'm not a big fan of the "you deserve it" bullshit, but he's so good, so great in the ring, and he deserves it because the fans are into it, and he would have a credible run, I believe, with that IWGP Junior title. And they've told a good enough story with Kushida up to this point to where him losing it to a guy like Ospreay isn't going to hurt Kushida at all either. Then the semi-main event, Tomohiro Ishii versus Tetsuya Naito, Los Ingobernables leader and the carrier of the briefcase, the winner of the G1 Climax. This, of course, for that G1 Climax briefcase with the main event of the Tokyo Dome contract inside of it. Nobody in the world thinks that Tomohiro Ishii is going to win, and he won't. Nobody wants to see Ishii versus Okada in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. Should it happen? absolutely, Ishii has a win over Okada in not this year's G1 Climax, but last year's G1 Climax. Again, Okada could lose the title to to Evil in this main event for this very show, and it could be Ishii versus Evil, but that's not your Tokyo Dome main event, and neither is Naito versus Evil, two Los Ingobernables guys in the main event. Also, I should mention Ishii, if he were to get the briefcase, taking on Okada in your Wrestle Kingdom main event, two Chaos guys, which is why that rematch for the title hasn't happened as of yet either, is because both of the guys are in the same faction. So, again, nobody here thinks Ishii is going to win, but oh my god, I'm really looking forward to this match. I think these two are going to go all out. It's going to be crazy. I think we're going to get some very dramatic near falls where it's going to feel like Ishii could get it, and I think it's going to be really good. Same thing for Okada versus Evil, your main event for this show, for King of Pro Wrestling, for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Evil just really got over in this year's G1 Climax for me. I was not expecting big things from Evil. He really performed well, had some really good matches, and again, I'm really looking forward to seeing him in this match with Okada. Evil needs to drop the silly laser lights, the big plastic sickle, and that shit, to me, is not main event. You can do laser lights if you have... I've talked about this before, too. Make it some sort of a coordinated, interesting, fun entrance. Just coming out and wiggling your laser fingers is just so childish to me and so not main event. And same thing with the plastic Halloween sickle. Let's get rid of the shitty Halloween stuff. And I like the robe. I love the mask that he comes out with. I could go either way on the guy liner, but nevertheless, all that stuff doesn't really matter that much because I think he's really performed well in the ring this year. Stood out to me in the G1. Okada having this amazing, tremendous year. And again, like I said, nobody in the world thinks Evil is going to win, but I think this match is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to get some very dramatic, good near falls in the match. I think it's going to be tremendous. So I'm looking forward to King of Pro Wrestling. Going to be a very good show, I believe, coming up this Monday. All right, let's wrap up the show with the Kojima tweet.
Now it's time for the Satoshi Kojima Tweet of the Week.
You can follow Kojima on Twitter at Cozy_Lariat. Hello, Japan has cooled down. 10 days have passed since I came back from Mexico. I eat bread every day. So follow me on Twitter at Tommy Striker, spell Striker with a Y. Let's join the conversation. Let's talk about back and forth. Give me your opinions on some of the stuff I talked about on today's show. Also, follow the show at Strong Honor. Check out my other podcast where I talk about all things WWE, Raw, SmackDown. We preview Hell in the Cell this weekend. BestProWrestlingPodcast.com is where you can find that, and links to that podcast and all of that. So be sure to check those out. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll talk to you again next week. Bye. Then, semi-main event. It's only getting better, people. Tomohiro Ishii versus Tetsuya Naito. Let me try that again.